Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon I bid to all. Welcome to webinar series 1 entitled Workforce Ready Communication Skills for Future Generation. Okay, Mr. Azmil Zulkifli, our speaker for today, will share the challenges faced by companies in hiring fresh employees, how to write an effective job application correspondence, tips on language use in job application correspondence, as well as the do's and the don'ts in job application. But before that, although the speaker needs no introduction, let me share with you a little bit about Mr. Azmil Zulkifli. He is an award-winning talent management professional aspiring to take on bigger, impactful roles in building talent pipeline, and he has held several progressive roles across the talent management spectrum, okay, particularly in talent development, talent assessment, graduate programs, and program management. He is currently responsible of succession planning and leadership development initiative in Top Globes, has successfully improved coverage ratio by 8%, successor readiness by 20%, and talent pool engagement by 14%. He is also a key team member in achieving HREA 2020 Excellent Award in Leadership Development and Talent Management category. Wow, very impressive, eh? And the most interesting aspect of this speaker is, okay, he has 31,000 TikTok followers, okay, and has garnered over 1.1 million likes. Okay, wow, okay. Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Azmil Zulkifli.
Thank you, Dr. Nurizah, for the extensive introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, Dr. Nurizah, a member of faculty of the Language Studies of the UTHM, and students of the UTHM, particularly students who is taking English for occupational purposes. So, thanks for having me on this Thursday afternoon. Hopefully you guys had a great lunch, a good break, so that we can power on and look at some aspect of job applications that I wanted to talk about. So I guess I don't have to introduce myself further. Doctor has already introduced me extensively. I just wanted to clarify in terms of what talent management means. So talent management is a subset of human resource. What talent management do is they take care of talent, be it junior talent and as well as senior talent. So when we talk about junior talent, we are talking about fresh graduate, we are talking about entry level workers and staff. And when we are talking about senior management, we are talking about C-suite, those who hold very high leadership roles within organization, such as CEO, CFO, CSO, CIO, all the C's, that's why they call it C-suite. So having said that, being in talent management allows me some kind of insight when it comes to what does it take, what are the learning intervention or development needs needed for young talent as well as senior management. And I was able to create a linkage between the direction that senior management and senior leadership wanted to take to be cascaded down to all of junior talent. So I had a unique role where I can work with young talent as well as senior managers. In my current role, I was given the opportunity to handle the young talent program. We call it Management Associate Program, and as well as succession planning. We talk about how do we pipeline our future leaders in our organizations. So I also have the chance to work closely with the seventh richest man in Malaysia. And, uh, the close of proximity, you get to learn a lot from their mindsets and their teachings and their wisdom. And in a way, I am fortunate. So having that insight, I would say, uh, I think that somehow encouraged me, gave me a little nudge on why I wanted to embark on this TikTok journey. So I am originally a trainer, a learning and development practitioner. So when we talk about uh, training, right? Nowadays, we are venturing into bite-sized learning because nobody has time to sit down in a 4 hours or even 8 hours classroom anymore. People wanted to learn as and when convenient. So I found that TikTok as the perfect platform for me to try to impart knowledge, to conduct bite-sized learning. So I can just, whip up my phone, I can just record, and voila, in 60 seconds, the video is done. All it needs is just some touch up and a little bit of caption, and it is ready to be posted. So I got lucky, I guess, when it comes to my TikTok journey. I think one of my video blew, I think by the stroke of luck. But ever since that, from that video, I hit some minor milestones and some viral videos, and it grew to uh, it is now. So that's a little bit about me. And before we start to embark on this 2 hour, 1.5 hour training, I wouldn't say training, I would say workshop. Um, let's just, take a look at what is currently the emerging trends when it comes to hiring post-pandemic. Right. So there are 5 evident or apparent emerging trends that is happening now post-pandemics. Now that we are not calling it pandemic anymore, we are calling it endemic, which means that we are coexisting with the virus. So a lot of economy are reopening, businesses are allowed to resume as usual. So what happened now is the aftermath of the pandemic in the form of, for example, number one, we have a trend where people are more accustomed working from home. So, long we used to think that we have to be at the office, we have to be at the site to complete our work, but the pandemic has somehow made us realize that we can achieve or we can still deliver our tasks working from home. So that has somehow changed. Even though we are transitioning, going back to the office, I believe there are companies and there are employers who are figuring out how they wanted to approach this work from home situations. Some are still uh, dividing between office and also home. Some are 100% office. Some are still 100% working from home. So this has created a lot of, I wouldn't say chaos or problems. I would say that a lot of issues that needs to be addressed. For example, expectation of work. The way people perceive work, it has already changed, especially young graduate who started working already sudah work from home. So they have not yet had a chance working in office. So all of their career life, they have been working from home. So how does employer change or how does employer help them transitions? Or does this young talent expect to be working from home permanently or for a foreseeable time? So expectation has changed. And when we are working virtually, okay, the most important aspect of communication has gone down. You know, the tone. When we communicate, a large bulk of our communication are tone, right? So because of the absence of physical interactions, face-to-face meetings, it is hard for us to gauge or identify the the real the real sense of interaction that we are going to relay to other people, to other person. So you know, when you send a text, you, even though it's just a normal text, you know, sometimes can be perceived like it like someone is angry at you, or vice versa. So there are lack of tone, and there are needs to address how do you align in terms of communication and interaction. And we are also seeing this great resignation. Apparently, a lot of Western country with advanced vaccination rate, they have already started going back to the office. And what they have found out is a lot of employees are resigning. So there are a lot of factors why people are resigning at a very, I wouldn't say exponential, but significant rate, where, you know, some employers indicate that during the pandemic, they figure out what they really wanted out of their life, what was their passion. They wanted to pursue their passion. Some has realized that uh, they can do their work from home, so they do not want to go back to the office. And some demanded better treatment from employers. So these pose a challenge for employers in order to help or to retain their key employees. When it comes to hiring, we are talking about a situation right now where things are ambiguous, things are volatile. So sometimes employers, they are really cautious when it comes to hiring, because they do not want to hire someone only to find out that, oh, tiba-tiba PKP or MCO. So, you know, it is like, it is a risk for employer to take, to hire someone only to find out that they need to close down their business because of MCO and whatnot. So employer are getting more cautious now. They are opting for short-term contract, for example. And if they want to hire for permanent role or permanent position, they are trying and they strive to ensure that they hire right the first time. So how does they hire right the first time? By doing assessment center. So there are emerging trends where companies now are conducting assessment center. Okay, we'll talk more about assessment center later as we go through this deck. But assessment center goes beyond the conventional interview. Company don't want to just interview you. They also want to take a look at your leadership. They also want to take a look how you work in a team. They want to find out your potential. They want to find out your personalities. So a lot of these are being done in assessment center. And another emerging trend is real-time feedback and pulse survey. You know, nowadays, right? Whenever you purchase something on Shopee, or when you go to a restaurant, you go to the Google review, you left a review effortlessly, seamlessly, in real time. So when your Grab driver send you your food, okay, you can choose to give them 5-star or 4-star or 3-star. So this is the culture, or this is the trend right now where we give constant feedback to people. So this emerging trend, is driven by what we call an agile mindset lah. The emerging of project management approach of agile, where organizations are focusing on failing as early as possible. They do not want to build up something and then they fail big. They want to build incrementally, and if they fail also. They don't fail by a lot, so they can go back to the drawing board and they can make changes and tweaks as and when required. So those are driven by agile, and because of this trend of giving real-time feedback, managing difficult conversations is becoming a key trend right now. Okay. When it comes to, for example, negotiating your salary, when it comes to, for example, giving or receiving feedback, I myself, sometimes I cannot take feedback well. Sometimes when people are giving me constructive feedback, I feel bad, or sometimes I take it like a sore loser. So managing difficult conversations is a key skills for us to have right now. We'll talk more about difficult conversations and giving and receiving feedback. Another thing that we have also to consider is we'll be facing, especially fresh graduate, immense competition. Because of the pandemic, a lot of unemployment happened, and a lot of people who are currently underemployed. That means they are employed, but they are working on something that is below or beneath their qualification. So when business reopens, economy reopens, expect the competition to be stiff, because we are not just competing with another fresh grad. We are also competing with talent who already in the market, who are probably unemployed or underemployed. So they are pushed for candidates to distinguish themselves further from the competitors. So how do we do that? So elevator pitch is one. So we'll talk more about elevator pitch later. And then cold mailing and networking. So hidden job market is another thing. We cannot just rely on normal advertised job advertisement. We can also explore other areas in what we call hidden job market. So that is how we distinguish ourselves, or what some people say, blue ocean strategy lah. You know where to play and how to win. That is key in order for us to win in this very immense competition. Another thing is digitalization and technology literacy. So the pandemic has pushed digitalization and accelerated the adoption of technology. So HR now are utilizing ATS, applicant tracking system, because the volume of application is getting higher and higher each day. So they need ATS to help them to filter resume and to filter candidate. Another trend that I think that is currently emerging is the ability to do and conduct storytelling. Okay, we are now served, or we are now in what we call IR 4.0. We have abundance of data. You talk about IoT. So when we have this overload of data, sometimes we tend to get analysis paralysis. So sometimes statistics, data are not enough. We need to be able to create a story. We need to be able to create linkage between those data to the emotional side of our stakeholder. So storytelling is also another emerging trend and also ability that a fresh grad, or not just fresh grad, everybody should have. Sorry. So having said that, having, reviewing all these emerging trends, the question is, what does it take for us to win the job application war post-pandemic? Of course, number one, it would be having that winning resume. Okay, I think because resume is like the document that is going to link you to employers outside. So you need to have a winning resume. That's one. Second would be managing difficult conversation. And a lot of these things are not being, talked about or taught because sometimes a lot of these are very situational, but it happens. For example, like having performance appraisal with your boss, and your boss is unhappy with you. Maybe KPI koyak, KPI tak achieve. How do you try to justify? How do you try to navigate and have that conversation and have a meaningful conversation? Now, instead of having I would say in constructive conversation, you have this useful and beneficial conversation instead. So that is another thing that we need to look at. Relationship building, I think before even before my time, this has been talked about. Networking is not just about what we know, it's also about who we know. So I think especially in this time and age where technology platform like LinkedIn can be utilized freely, relationship building can be done easier, especially for those who are introvert, who might find it difficult talking to other face to face or meeting strangers. But technology has eased our way into building relationship and even starting new relationship with strangers. So another thing is branding. When it comes to branding, how to position ourselves so that employer notice us, hiring manager notice us, or people that matters, such as decision makers, notice us. So branding is important. It's all about positioning ourselves and also increasing our visibility. And lastly, it is all about pitching ourselves. We need to be able to showcase and demonstrate our talent so that it reinforces other aspects. Like I mentioned earlier, if we are able to pitch ourselves well, our branding will go up. Our relationship building will go up as well. Because if you are able to pitch yourself well, that means you are able to create value with the interaction or the relationship with other people. So being able to pitch yourself can also help you increase your relationship. So these are, I think, the 5 key elements on what does it take for us to win the job application war post-pandemic. So sorry, so these are the agenda for today's. Now is 2:25. So what we are going to do is we are going to cover this topic extensively. Okay. I know that some of these are not correspondences, but I feel that it is an extension to correspondences where it will be able to help us in terms of navigating our way through job application. So we are going to take a look into how to write a winning resume. We are going to touch a little bit on applicant tracking system, ATS. I am going to provide some guidelines on how do we do elevator pitch. And we're going to talk in depth about assessment center. And we are going to talk about receiving and giving feedback, the fundamental, the beginning of having or managing tough conversations. And then we are going to close with cover letter and then Q&A. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a look into resume first. But for resume, I am going to cover this very swiftly because I believe, just for the benefit of time, I also believe that a lot of you are taking English for occupational purposes. I believe resume writing will be covered extensively by your lecturers and instructors. So I am just going to point some key informations that we need to pay attention to lah. So I guess everybody know what resume is. Okay, resume introduce us to our potential employer. So it's the first step to make an impression. So that's why having a winning resume is important, because it knocks door. It knocks door and allow us to be interviewed and to be engaged by potential employers. So this is something that I really need to talk about extensively. A resume writing mindset. So always remember that resume writing is an ego boosting exercise. You know how sometimes that we are Asian, right? We are Malaysian, we are Asian, we can sometimes be a little bit shy when it comes to shouting out about our achievement, about our talent. Even when you are eating, right? And then when there's the last piece of lauk and you do not want to take it, you insist your friend to take it, and then your friend also insists for you to take it. We are very shy like that, right? But when it comes to resume, we had to have that ego boosting mindset. So just remember that it is okay for us to shout out about our achievement, about our talent, and being confident about who you are, what you have achieved is important, because that will set the tone of the rest of your resume. Okay, second will be prioritize content more than cosmetic. Maybe with a little bit of an exception now when it comes to creative industry, maybe they are a little bit open to a more fancy resume. But for the rest, just keep it simple. Prioritize content more than the cosmetic. Don't pay attention much on your font sizes, on the colors. Try not to over decorate your resume, because content is king. So another thing is there are no best way to create a resume. So a lot of advices you can get from LinkedIn, from TikTok even. I'm not the only one who does resume writing content. There are others, a whole lot of them, and sometimes you might find that the advice or the consultation given might be different. Azmil say resume have to be at least 2 page, but another person say only 1 page. So remember that there are no best way to create a resume, because sometimes the way we write and how does the resume narrate. Okay, narrate our story is more important. And remember that it is not about how you want to read it. Okay, jangan shock sendiri. I mean, always imagine or always try to um, uh, vision that the person that is reading is not you, it will be someone else. So try to explain or write your resume in ways that other people can understand. You know, sometimes people tend to um, put abbreviation or acronym and expecting other people who reads it understand it. So always assume that you know other people might not have the same understanding or experience as us. So we need to align with other people. So remember, okay, it's not about how we want to read it, but others, especially hiring managers and also recruiters. And another thing is, it is always a work in progress. You know, every now and then, maybe every quarter ke, ataupun uh, every 6 months, you probably would want to update your resume, because you have taken on maybe new skills, new portfolio, you have achieved new targets. So you would want to include that in your resume. So it is always going to be a work in progress. And as you grow or as you climb the corporate ladder, you would find, oh, there are some things that you will want to remove or omit, and um, and in place of that, you would want to add something else. So again, this is something that um, a work in progress that everyone should always do periodically. It doesn't matter whether you are, you know, whether you are looking out or you are not looking out, you're comfortable with your role, you're happy with your current job. Just, you know, from time to time, just update it. All right, resume versus CV. I believe this is pretty much straightforward. Okay, CV is the longer version of resume, and it is mainly used for academia, scientific research, for senior management hiring, like C-suite, that I mentioned earlier, and then for non-conventional jobs. While resume are pretty much used in most job applications. Because of the time, how long should your resume be? 1 page if you have less than 7 years, 2 page if you have more, and 3 page CV if if it fits the job role that is mentioned in this table earlier lah. So you can use the 3 page CV. Okay, these are the 7 must-have items. I do not want to go in detail one by one. Let's just move swiftly because I think we have a lot more to catch up. Personal particular, I think we can skip this. Education is pretty much straightforward. Work experience. Okay, this is I would like to explain more a little about this. So when you are writing work experience, um, one of the best way to distinguish you from other candidates is by making your work experience impactful. So how do you make your work experience impactful? By using this format. So you start off with an action verb, and then you describe the activity that you have done, your responsibilities, and you end then with result. And when we talk about result, try to make it quantifiable. So for a quick example, let's just take a look at this first bullet here. So this person work in Banji, Department of Statistics, Malaysia. So conducted. So he used an action verb here, conducted. Census clinic in assigned area and interviewed respondent. So this is the activity, census clinic and interview. And 40 and 1,200 here is the result. So that's how you make your work experience impactful. So that's how you paint a picture for the hiring manager or for the recruiter to be able to imagine, oh, this person during his tenure with Department of Statistics has interviewed 1,200. Wow, that is no small feat. So having results, quantifiable results, will help paint a picture for the reader to understand better our role. So use this method, and that way you'll be able to attract the recruiter or hiring manager more. Okay, leadership experience is another thing that I want to highlight, especially for fresh grad, right? You know, sometimes fresh grad, especially those yang mungkin do not have work experience aside from their internship. So I really encourage fresh grad to include their leadership experience. So how do you write your leadership experience? It is similar to your work experience. So you start off with the action verb, and then you mention the activities related and the results that that you were able to yield from that leadership role. So the way you write it is similar. Okay, project course experience is also another thing that I recommend for fresh grad to include. So unlike work experience and leadership experience, use this method instead. Okay, you make it a three bullet structure. So bullet number 1 is you describe the project lah. Okay, and then bullet 2 is the tools and software that you use, and bullet 3, quantifiable impact. So when we talk about project experience, it doesn't have to be FYP. It doesn't have to be just FYP. It can be other project, but do not pick some assignment that that you breezily or easily were able to do lah. Find something that stretch you. Find an assignment that really stretch you, that really accelerate your learning curve, because that way you'll be able to paint a better picture of how do you react to those challenges. And janganlah pilih assignment yang too easy. So pick something that stretch you and try to describe that in this 3 bullet format lah. So this is a good example. So bullet 1, wireless child harness. So this describe the project, and then the second bullet describe what are the tools or software. So Arduino and analog, right? And lastly, quantifiable impact. Completed harness prototype with 75% reliability and 80% functionality score. Okay, in the case you were not able to quantify your impact, right? Because sometimes you just need to do the prototype. So there's no way for you to maybe quantify or check the validity or measure the success rate, right? What you can do is perhaps maybe you can be creative in explaining that, oh, that assignment or that project had made you receive an award, or maybe your lecturer gave you an A, or maybe you get best presentation for that prototype presentation day. So you can always play. Okay, play doesn't mean, it doesn't, how do I put this? You don't lie, you don't lie. I mean, most importantly, you don't lie, but you creatively figure out a way to how share your achievement in a positive light. So that's how it is. You know, how do you narrate your achievement? All right. So skills. Okay. This is pretty much also straightforward. Um, again, in the interest of time, I am going to uh, briefly cover this. Don't worry. Again, it will be covered extensively by your instructor or your lecturer. And if you need any additional materials, you can always go to my TikTok. So, summary or career objective. So, do we need a summary or career objective? It depends. Okay. Um, one thing that we need to know is when you write a summary, write something that will distinguish you from other candidates. A lot of people, when they write a summary on top of their resume, right, they put generic statement. You know, it is hard for us to distinguish ourselves from others if we put, you know, generic skills. A hardworking person with a demonstrated track record, blah blah blah. Whenever a recruiter read with a demonstrated track record, you know already that's a copy paste from Google. So try to come up with something original. Try to come up with a story that, you know, that is unique to you. So if you are able to write that, then yes, go ahead and put your summary in your resume. Achievement, this is font, especially achievement that you can't put elsewhere lah. So for example, you cannot put in leadership experience, you cannot put in work experience, then you come up with a section, achievement section. So you come up with a bullet and you just briefly explain this achievement. So yeah, okay, so that's it for resume. An extension to resume is applicant tracking system. So when we talk about applicant tracking system, it is basically a software used by a company and organizations for recruitment purposes and hiring processes. So each company, there are a lot of ATS software out there. You know, there are SuccessFactors, there are Workday, there are apa nama? There are 8Day, there are Oracle. So there are a lot of ATS software out there with different capability and with their own limitations. So each of these systems, they have some combination of features, but ATS is basically used to help hiring companies collect, organize, and filter applicant. So some of the ATS features is text recognition, keyword filtration. So for example, maybe a hiring manager or maybe a recruiter is hiring for a product development position. So maybe they put product development as a keyword to filter out those resume that do not have that keyword and only remain those that have that word. So keyword filtration, qualifier and disqualifier. Qualifier and disqualifier is more like a question that when we answer probably will disqualify or qualify us to go further. So for example, question like, have you been bankrupt before? Have you been declared bankrupt before? So some company they do not hire people who has been declared bankrupt. So automatically that application will be disqualified. And then ranking candidates based on the keywords, based on years of experience, based on the parameters set by the recruiters, they are able to rank the candidates. Especially in JobStreet, right? JobStreet can be considered applicant tracking system as well. And JobStreet can also help do text recognition and keyword filtration. So uh, uh, when a position, have about 200, 300 applicants, so the ATS will help to rank maybe top 10, top 20, top 30 candidates. And usually only a handful of those resume will reach a human eye. So yeah, a lot of our resume will probably end up in ATS if we do not, meet the requirement set by the recruiter or by the JD. So how do we make our resume ATS friendly? Okay, we can just use simple plain resume. Okay, use Microsoft Word, optimize keyword, and use E or F format. So when I say use E or F format, it starts from one end and it ends to another end. Because a lot of trend right now, right? You can see people likes to split their resume into two, uh, uh, as if like a table lah. So I try not to do that, avoid that, because some, like I say, all ATS, they have their own limitation. So sometimes when you do a split resume, the ATS system will not be able to detect. So be careful with that. Don't use image or picture. Don't over decorate your resume, and don't use table. Again, like I said, uh, sometimes people also put invisible table. I advise people to not do that. Even though it is an invisible table, when you put it into the ATS scanner, it won't be able to. It will only be able to detect words until the column ends. So if you have other text outside of the table or beside the table, uh, um, it is worried that the ATS wouldn't be able to scan them. So let me share you some tips on how do you optimize your keyword so that it aligns, or it helps you when it comes to making the cut into ATS. So first you grab 3 different color highlighter, okay, and go through the job description 3 times. You obviously you have to print the job description lah, because you are using highlighter here. So the first one, you highlight the hard skills. So hard skills, for example, if it mentions software, for example, like Microsoft Word, Power BI, Python. So these are hard skills. So you highlight them in one color. And then for the second time, use a different color, highlight, find soft skills, things like team player, communication skills. And for the third time, use a different color highlighter again and highlight action verbs, conducted, reported, collated. So those things, highlight them in a different color. So what you do is, when you try to design your resume, try to incorporate all of these highlighted word in your resume. It doesn't mean that you need or you have to include everything, but try to find ways to incorporate them. So when you are able to incorporate them in your resume, the higher chances for the ATS to favor or rank your resume higher. Okay, that's about it for ATS. Now moving on to elevator pitch. Okay, I mentioned earlier why we find that elevator pitch is becoming increasingly important. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, elevator pitch has been around for so long, right? I mean, I am sure a lot of you have heard of elevator pitch, but why elevator pitch has become increasingly important now? Because again, like I mentioned earlier, we need to be able to position ourselves and also brand ourselves. And elevator pitch helps us. By definition, elevator pitch is a succinct and persuasive sales pitch. But PSA, a myth here, it is not necessarily about selling ourselves, ideas, or business. But a good elevator pitch can also make people want to know more about us. Because it usually elevator pitch is very short, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. So you would want for the recipient of that elevator pitch to want to hear more about you, to want to meet you, to want to arrange a meeting with you. Maybe he or she is busy at the time. So because of your epic, because of your bombastic elevator pitch, you were able to convince him or her to have a meeting. So that's what elevator pitch can work for. Another thing is, elevator pitch are not just for people who work in sales. You can find yourself whether you are in HR, whether you are in engineering, in academics. Elevator pitch can be used broadly across all industries, across all professions. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is why, okay, I mentioned earlier why elevator pitch is becoming more and more important, right? Because a good elevator pitch opens door for other good things. Okay, and all of this, relates much to job correspondence lah. And if you have a good elevator pitch, that elevator pitch can be put in your cover letter. That elevator pitch can be put in your resume, especially in your summary part, right? Because you are able to pitch yourself, you're able to sell yourself, you're able to make yourself distinct, and you're able to come up with unique value proposition. So you can put that in your summary. And another thing is, because you are doing pitching, you can also put that in your work experience by highlighting your achievement, by highlighting results. We'll talk more about how do we structure our elevator pitch later. Again, a good elevator pitch can also help us in terms of branding and interview. So for example, the most basic, the most common, the first question asked in an interview, tell us about yourself. Usually, if you have a good pitch, a good storytelling, you're able to incorporate them in your answers, that will set the tone for the rest of the interview, because that is usually the first question, right? So if you are able to answer that question well, incorporate a good how do I say, convincing elevator pitch, inshallah that interview will go swimmingly. And lastly, networking. How do you approach strangers? How do you get their buy-in? People buy in people. So when you heard of something interesting, you heard of a good product, so that's how you bond, or how do you develop relationship. So that's why elevator pitch is so versatile, that you can integrate or use that same basic principle in other job application correspondences as well. So 5 steps in crafting your elevator pitch. So this is important. First, you engage with a relatable question. This is optional. Why optional? Because sometimes you are pitching for yourself. Sometimes you are pitching for a business. So this first step usually is more suitable if you are pitching for a business. You start off with a question. Do you have problem cleaning your white shirts? I happen to sell detergent that clean out white. So that is how you engage with a question. But as an individual, as a person, if you want to pitch, you don't have to do that. You don't have to question like, oh, are you frustrated because you couldn't find a good talent to work for you? No, you don't have to do that. But what you can do is you can do the second part, which is to straight away introduce yourself and explain what you do. And then you communicate your value. Communicate your value is basically explaining what you stand for and how you help people. And then promote an achievement. Number 4 is promote an achievement. So when it comes to promote an achievement, this is where the quantifiable impact comes in. So again, that's why I said the versatility of elevator pitch crafting, you can use it in other correspondences as well. So this is where you say, oh, I have helped people clean. I have helped 100 customers having clean whiteys with my detergent, for example. So you promote an achievement. And then finally, you demonstrate your passion. So as an example, okay. Number 1, you start with a relatable question. So assuming that this is a pitch for a business. So we start with a question like, are you frustrated that your resume is not getting the attention it deserves, or for not being able to ace that job interview? Feeling so close yet so far? Well, I wanted to share with you about my TikTok channel called Kerja. So this is the second one. You introduce our company or introduce ourselves and tell them about what we do. So I provide learning videos on career development, blah, 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 blah. And in addition, I've also shared HR and leadership tips. So this is introducing ourselves and what we do. The third one. So the third one was what? Was value, right? So I mentioned, okay, Kerja envision a future where employees and employer become better. For employees to become more competitive, to secure their dream job, and to be aware of employment-related issues. And would want for employers to become more efficient in HR matters and to optimize their resources. So that's value. Okay, and then you highlight your achievement. So again, when I say achievement, quickly terus remember that it is that quantifiable impact. So yeah, I use numbers. We've become a point of reference for career development content, and we had about 130K followers on TikTok. In addition, we've helped 135 graduates secure their job via engagement session, resume review, and coaching. So you use a quantifiable impact, to make your case. And finally, you end with your mission statement or your passion. So you just say, we are passionate with what we do and would love to explore collaboration opportunities with the organization. Yeah, so something like that. So that is how you craft an elevator pitch. So we have covered elevator pitch. Okay. Let me check. Are there any question in chat? Okay, no yet. Or maybe the question is in YouTube. But maybe someone can read the question later. So let's move along to becoming a powerful storyteller. So this is another aspect that I mentioned earlier. where storytelling is becoming increasingly important. We have a lot of data, but we need to be able to connect those data, and we need to be able to make sense of those data, and we need to be able to tie emotions to those data. And that only happens if you're able to do storytelling. So a lot of successful businessmen, or if you watch TED Talk, right? A lot of people they start with a story, because people can really relate to story more if they can envision the struggles, if they can relate to the person that who is giving the speech. So that's why storytelling is important. So I just wanted to share with you this story about Jacques Prévert. Okay, know that it is not a typo. Memang nama dia Prévert. So he is a French poet, and this was back in the 80s lah. So he was a poet, but you know lah how artists can be broke, right? So he did not have any money. So when he walked across Paris, he found a beggar, and that beggar hold a sign: "I am blind. Please help me donate." So Jacques go to that blind person and ask, how are you? And then the beggar said, okay, he is not doing well. Not many people donated to him. Can you donate? But Jacques was also broke, right? So Jacques said, okay, I do not have money myself, but what I can do, I can offer you is to maybe help you with refining lah, or fixing, writing a new sign for you. So this Jacques wrote a new sign. A few days later, he walks by the same beggar, and he asks the beggar, so hey, how's it going? And the beggar say, oh yeah, I think the past few days has been well. A lot of people has been donating to me. What did you write? What did you wrote actually on my sign? So Jacques said, I wrote, spring is coming, but I won't be able to see it. So you know how people relates more to story, and not just some call for action. That's why sometimes when you watch a lot of Thai advertisement, right? And you feel like Thai produce the best advertisement, because they have really good story that touch your emotions, that that really is relatable to us. So a good stories would be able to have people on board and buy in. So why is storytelling important? Okay, it can be used for relationship building. It can be used for effective presentation, help us in our selling and marketing. So that's why there are a lot of FB ads guru out there saying, oh yeah, come learn copywriting with me, because being a storyteller pays, because a good copywriting maybe can funnel a lot of sales. So yeah, from a psychological point of view and from neurological point of view, facts and figures don't stick in our minds in the same way that stories do. So yeah, this is what I've been trying to tell. I've been trying to say that in an environment where we are swamped with abundance of data, facts and figures don't stick much unless we are able to tie our emotions to it. So this is a universal story template. Okay, this is a template used by Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon is a writer lah. If you watch a series by Parks and Recreation, yang ada Chris Pratt tu, he wrote Parks and Recreation. So this is the usual go-to story template. Whenever you want to design a story, you know, you begin with a character in a zone of comfort, and then that character suddenly desires something. Oh, maybe I wanted a job. I wanted to try for that promotion, and then that person enter an unfamiliar situation. Oh, I step out of my comfort zone. I take up a new portfolio. I take up new tasks because I wanted to prove to my boss that I deserve for a promotion. And then he or she adapts it to it, and finally get what they want. And then the character realizes that it comes at a heavy price. Or maybe got promoted, but no time with family, for example. And then return to familiar situation, which is the beginning, having change. So this is like the go-to story template lah, to make our storytelling appealing. I mean, the good thing is we don't have to follow 1 to 8. Perhaps you can only you can take piecemeal bits of here and there to make a very appealing story. You don't have to do 1 to 8. Maybe you do 1 to 4, or maybe you 1 and then you skip to 5 and then you skip to 7 and then 8. So this is the template that we can use to make our storytelling more intriguing. Okay, so now we are going to take a look at assessment center. So assessment center is a process where candidates are examined to determine their suitability for specific type of employment. And usually assessment center consists of numerous combination of assessment to give companies or the assessors a holistic view of candidates' ability. So when we talk about assessment center, it is a combination of a few tests rolled up together. It can be in 1 day, it can be 2 days, even PTD, right? Pegawai Tadbir Diplomatik, the premium government scheme lah, for government servant, they conducted assessment center. They call it PAC. If I'm not mistaken, they do a 2 days assessment center where they need to do a case study, they need to do presentation, they need to do public speaking in English and in BM. So the assessment process were rigorous lah, in a way, so that they are able to choose what they call crème de la crème lah, the best of the best. So that's for government. A lot of companies are doing assessment center as well. So in this pink picture here, in this pink image here, right, you can see number 4 here, assessment center. And actually, I took this from Nestle website. So Nestle has assessment center as a part of their hiring process. So assessment center, again, it really depends on how a company design their assessment center. It can be a combination of everything. Group discussion, group presentation, aptitude test. So let's take a look at what type of test they are. So they are psychometric tests. Okay, we have personality tests, MBTI. If you're familiar with this INTP lah, INFP lah, so that is MBTI, Myers-Briggs. If you I don't know, maybe if you a psychology student or a psychology minor student, you may be familiar with Myers-Briggs. So there's DISC, there's PAPI. So it evaluates or gauge our personality. Cognitive is more on aptitude, meaning more on our our ability, our thinking ability lah. Usually, for example, like mathematic tests, for example, like verbal tests and abstract tests lah. So that's cognitive. Mechanical, motor, sensory. Okay, these are all job specific tests. For example, like it relates to the job, or maybe it is important to the job. It is mission critical to the job. Then some company or some organization, they did this job specific test lah, to make sure that this talent that they are going to hire meet the are able and also capable to do the job. So for example, in PTD, PAC, in their assessment center, they are required to do UKJK, which is ujian jasmani. So they are required to do some running, some squats, and some push-ups, and those they wanted to ensure that their talent or the people that they're going to hire are fit lah in some way. And then leadership and interpersonal tests. Okay, so this is the group and individual exercises where it really much look into our leadership and interpersonal skills. When it comes to fresh graduate assessment center, a lot of the assessment center will be in this area, in this type of assessment. It can be in group or individual, and it can be also in an competency-based or behavioral events interview. So maybe for fresh grad assessment center, you have to do a case study, and then you have to do a group presentation, and then you have to do simulation and do group interviews, for example. So a lot of this measure leadership or interpersonal skills. So we are going to look into group exercise lah. If you are called to attend an assessment center with any company, okay, if you are to do group exercise, right? Okay, this is the tips lah for you. Okay, introduce yourself to the group before you begin. Try to introduce yourself and also try to remember your group's mates name, and then volunteer for tasks. Whenever you are doing some kind of a group exercise, there will be a task that you guys need to do. You know, maybe you need to come up with a PowerPoint deck, or maybe you need to come up with a presentation on a mahjong paper. Volunteer to do those tasks. Remember that whenever we are in an assessment center, we are constantly being observed, and sometimes these small things matter. You know, just because of you volunteer, you show proactiveness, maybe you get extra points. Maybe the assessors will have a soft spot on us. So we'll never know. And then contribute, but do not dominate and do not allow yourself to be dominated. Balance lah. Don't try to dominate the group, but do not allow others to dominate as well. So and then you always actively listen and note down any useful ideas, and then encourage participation. If you notice that your group members maybe being quiet, then you can invite him or her to participate. Maybe you can pass the conversation or open the conversation for him or her to participate. Show flexibility. This is very important, and a lot of people seems to not understand the assignment. So the TikTok trend, understand the assignment. So when when you are doing a group exercise, for example, if you're doing case study, case studies are designed for you to have disagreement, are designed for you to have conflict. So show some flexibility and compromise, because you might not agree with another group members, but shows ways on how do you adapt, or how do you negotiate so that other people or those who disagree with you initially agrees with you. So do not try to force your way into a discussion. That will be a really that would be frowned upon. Okay, try to keep your group on topic and on track, and remind yourself that this is not a competition. This is something that people tend to forget as well. They think that, oh, okay, only one people will go through, so he or she treat everyone as enemy. So as a result, they do not want to cooperate and work or collaborate together. Because we never know, maybe in a group, maybe 2 or 3 people will make it to the next round. But because of, we keep on thinking that everybody is the enemy here, let's not work together, let's make his or her life hard, then in a way you are also making your life also hard during the assessment center. Okay, providing and receiving feedback, a look into Netflix candid feedback. So, okay, we are moving on to another topic, which is managing difficult conversation. And providing and receiving feedback is fundamental in managing difficult conversation. Netflix is very famous with its candid feedback culture. Okay, Reed Hastings, the CEO, mentioned, with candor, high performance become outstanding performance. Frequent candid feedback exponentially magnifies the speed and effectiveness of your team. So, how to put this? Netflix are really open when it comes to giving feedback, because they believe in improving and putting the company best interest first. When they are giving feedback, they do not mean harm, they do not mean to put somebody down, but rather they just want the best for the company. I think this candid feedback culture, if you have the time, you can read the book written by Reed Hastings, the No Rule book. You can maybe read it and understand why giving feedback and also receiving feedback is important. And in Netflix, they adopted this 4A approach. Okay, number 1, aim to assist, actionable, appreciate, and accept or discard. So for number 1 and 2, this is for the person that is giving feedback. Number 3 and 4 is for the person that received the feedback. So always when you want to give feedback, always start with the intention that you want to assist. You are not trying to put someone down. You are not trying to make him or her look good in front of the bosses, or you are not trying to throw them under the bus or something. You're just there to assist, to address actionable behavior. Sometimes when you provide feedback, right, you focus on things that that doesn't matter. Some things maybe like personality, maybe something like physical. Focus on behavior or things that is actionable, something that people can change and work on. If you are giving feedback on or something that is not actionable, then it is not really a good feedback. And for the person who received the feedback, okay, show appreciation, and then after reflection, decide whether to accept or discard. So this is the guideline on how to receive feedback. Okay, approach things with growth mindset. When you receive a feedback, okay, you also must assume that the person that is giving you the feedback has good intention. Okay, you jangan fikir negative. No. Take it on the chin if it's a negative feedback and try to work on it and improve on it. Okay, be always optimistic that you know, when you receive a feedback, those can be a learning curve and opportunity for you to improve. And then once you receive that feedback, you show appreciation to the feedback giver. You can say something like, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate your honesty. And take your time. You don't have to react there and then. Maybe you need some time to reflect or to think. So if you need to take your time, you can take back. And then third, okay, you reflect on the feedback. If you do not understand the feedback, maybe you can seek clarification. And then take your time to evaluate and share your views. Decide whether to accept or discard. So, and then you respond to feedback lah. Share possible solution, use the feedback constructively, and do not fixate on it. So giving feedback, there are a 5-step approach when it comes to giving feedback. Okay, try to prepare the feedback beforehand. You know, sometimes when you have conflict with your roommate and with your housemate or pinggan tak basuh, you know, sometimes we do not prepare or we do not organize our train of thoughts on how do we give them the feedback. You know, we just, you know, scold people away, and because of that you push people away. So try to prepare and consider how you want to deliver the feedback, and then focus on your tone. Be informal, approachable, and empathetic. And if you want people to, you know, hey, next time go wash the dishes, don't let the sink clog. Just, you know, be informal. Don't you know, don't be how do I put this? Don't be so hard on people. Okay, show that, you know, you really you are concerned about it, but you don't go on and, you know, scolding and being angry at other people. So focus on the tone and make other people feel comfortable, because, you know, when we establish an environment where I can give you feedback and you can give me feedback, and I trust you that whenever I give feedback, whenever you give feedback, it is for the best, then that, how do I put this? That culture will be inculcated. So that's what we want. And yeah, explore facts and use concrete example. Don't focus on one-off event. So try to, you know, find a pattern or a repetitive event, so that whenever you point that out, that person cannot say, oh, that's because of no water, that's why I didn't wash the dish. Try to, you know, point out several occasions and events, and create a forward focus. So this is something that, you know, focus on the change or behavior that you would want the person to have in giving feedback. So help that person also to explore how they can use the information to enhance their performance. Okay, we are right on time. So this would be my last slide. Okay, the reason why I put cover letter at the last, okay, I think this is also covered in your EOP syllabus, but I just wanted to, you know, end with how do we usually write cover letter. So when we talk about cover letter, okay, this is usually the template that we usually use. We start off with our intention of writing, be it applying for jobs or be it applying for internships, and then we start introducing ourselves, our background of study, if we are fresh grad or if we are experienced worker, our work experience, and then we can state 2-3 qualities related to the job that we are applying for lah. So this is usually the go-to template. Okay, but the reason why I put it last, because I want you to recap and incorporate what you have learned or what have you, I don't know, picked up on in elevator pitch and storytelling. So imagine if you write a cover letter like this, okay, assuming like you are writing to Tony Fernandez, huh? You start off like this. Asia has been one of my favorite brands for as long as I can remember. Asia played a huge part for my academic success. Growing up in a small town in Sabah, I was given the opportunity to further my tertiary education in Peninsular Malaysia in 2012. Money was of course an issue, but your airline had made it possible. I love everything about the experience of flying with Asia, and it inspired me to become an all-star. I am Roger Anak Ramli, a chemical engineering graduate from UMPR. And then he continued with the basic template. But imagine how can incorporate this elevator pitch, this storytelling in making your cover letter more intriguing, more attractive. And the same case happen to every other things. So use your elevator pitch or use your storytelling skills, in answering question in the interview question of tell us about yourself. Imagine how if you are able to do that well, you can come up with something that would really position you in the driving seat to become a candidate that will be hired by the company of your choice. So with that, I'm going to end my our session, and we are going to go for our Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Azmil Zulkifli, for that insightful session. Okay, I also learned a lot from the session. YouTube comments, we have received a lot of questions from eager students. Okay, the first question, okay, this question comes from Nurul Hafiza, Harith Shahmi, and Ko Pei Ying. Okay. All right. The question is, which type of resume is more preferred by the company nowadays? The traditional one or the infographic one?
Okay. When it comes to resume, I would say the traditional one would be the most preferred one.
Okay. Why is that so?
Okay. Because when we come up with an infographic resume, chances are our infographics will be in the form of an image, or will be in the form of a free form where the text reading ability of ATS won't be able to detect or read that.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Azmil. Okay, excuse me, can you please stop sharing your slides? Because the viewers see your face. Okay. Yes, this is Mr. Azmil, a very popular TikToker. Don't forget to follow him, Kerjajer, Kerjajer. Okay, I don't any commission from him. All right. So the second question from a very interesting name, Ina Shahmina. Okay, how to overcome that emotion impact of being rejected by any company? Okay, so how to overcome emotional impact of being rejected? Okay, Mr. Azmil, what say you? That you are turning into a counselor, Okay.
I think after a while you get numb of rejection. Okay. Always reframe our thought process like this. Every rejection that we get has prepared us for something better in the future. Might not be something better, but every rejection has prepared us better. And take console to the fact that you are one step closer to securing a job. I think it helps me a lot. And after a while, I think like I say, you get used to it because you realize that it is part and parcel of job application. I myself, even doing career advices, I've also had my fair share of unsuccessful applications. So I think sometimes it just wasn't meant to be, or sometimes it's just a learning experience for us.
Okay, so remember, Ina Shamina, there's always other opportunities, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The third question comes from Nur Khairina Batrisha. Okay, the name. Okay, Nur Khairina Batrisha asks, is there any difference in how the government and private company look for among the employees, okay, using the certificates they hold? Okay, is there any difference in how the government and private company look for among the employees using the certificates they hold?
In terms of education certificate, or is it like curriculum, extracurriculum certificate?
Okay, maybe you can touch on both aspects.
Okay. When it comes to education, we do not have, we are not like the US, where we have target schools, and if you watch Suits, you see that the Harvey, the Spectre Pearson only hires people from Harvard. We do not have that, but we do have situations where companies have a preference in hiring certain candidates from certain universities. I was in Bank Pertanian last time, Agro Bank. So doing some historical analysis, we find that students from UPM, granted they used to be called University Pertanian, right? So it only makes sense that a lot of UPM students fits well with agro banks and their visions and the way they do business. So in terms of that, I would say yes, but generally speaking, I wouldn't say that it affects much in terms of hiring when it comes to education certificate, as long as those education certificate, accredited by MQA, I think that's going to be fine. As opposed to leadership experience, or extracurricular activities participation, I would say a tad of differences when it comes to a government and private. I would say the government are more appreciative of things that might not have a direct contribution to productivity. You know, for example, if you are a talented musician, if you are a talented singer, or if you used to represent the country for Sukansi, I think government would really appreciate those talents to come in. But on private sector, there are more emphasis on certificate that is directly related to productivity of company. You know, things like maybe public speaking, communication, debate. You know, things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question comes from Muhammad Akil Azmi. Okay, his question is video resume needed nowadays?
Not necessarily, unless asked to. I think some companies, they try to raise the bar, or you know, try to I would say, you know, try to revolutionize hiring, but you know, sometimes the facility does not allow us to do so.
Okay.
For example, having a video resume would eat a lot of our bandwidth and our storage. So I mean, it's not feasible. I mean, cost-wise, it's not really feasible, and then implementation-wise, it is also not really a good indicator of how a candidate would perform. Because if anything, it would only, you know, probably prove that, okay, someone is good at video editing and someone is probably not, or someone probably use tools like teleprompter to help them come up with a video resume. So I think there are I mean, it is not the time yet. I think maybe in the future, I mean, it will be in the horizon lah, but not now.
Okay, so as for you, you personally think that traditional resume is like better as compared to video resume?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, the next question. Okay. This question comes from Arif Zakaria. Arif Zakaria, how do we compensate lack of working experience in a resume?
Lack of working experience in a resume, that would be the two things that I mentioned earlier, leadership experience and project experience. So if you do not have work experience, try to spend more time drafting your leadership experience and your project experience.
Okay, all right. Okay, a question from Lim Pei Pei. Lim Pei Pei. For internship, which type of resume is the best to be used? Chronological or functional? I think she concentrates. She gives her full concentration during English for occupational purposes class.
Okay.
So which one is better, chronological or functional?
I would say go for chronology anytime, any day. If you want to write, if you know how to write a good summary, like I mentioned earlier, if you know, if you want to put a summary at the top, then it becomes a hybrid resume lah. So you can, you know, choose traditional, or you can make it hybrid by putting a summary on top of your resume. Functional, to me, it's not recommended for any occasion, because it might get through ATS. But it might, how do I put this on? If a recruiter to have his or her hands on a functional resume, first, they will have a hard time imagining, because they wanted to have a timeline. If you put a functional resume, you put all the skills up top, and then only some experience at the bottom. Sometimes it is hard for the recruiter to imagine the timeline. Okay, in what year that he or she does this. It is hard for him or her to make the connections. And another thing is, it is also a common thing for recruiter to believe that whenever someone's hand in a functional resume, they are hiding something. So I'm not saying that maybe people are hiding something, but it just so happen that a lot of people who maybe a lot of career guru also advise that if you have something to hide, maybe employment gap ke apa-apa, you use functional. So at the same time, a lot of recruiter also, okay, if they receive functional resume, okay, something must be wrong. I need to scrutinize this resume and find what's wrong.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the response. Okay, the next question comes from Nina Farhana. Nina Farhana. Who can I get to review my resume for errors before I start sending it to employers, future employers?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. All right. The question is from Nina Farhana. Okay. Who can I get to review my resume for errors, to check for errors, I believe. Okay, before I start sending it to future employers.
Okay. I think the first step that you can do is to go over to either JobScan. It's a platform. You can just Google it, and you can upload your resume in JobScan, and the platform will be able to tell you if there are any errors or are there any ways for us to improve our resume. So that would be the first step. And after getting the feedback from the platform, make the necessary change. And the second filtration, I think it needs to come from someone that you trust, but how do I put this? Someone that you trust that knows you inside out, and someone who can view you in a non-biased way. Because sometimes we have blind side. Sometimes we might not notice. Maybe we have done something very good, but we do not notice about it. But our friend noticed that. Maybe we have done something very bad, but we don't realize or we didn't notice, but our friend have that. Because sometimes we tend to have blind side. So have someone that you trust to review your resume, one, and to also help you identify what other potential areas that can be added. And then third would be, I do not want to put pressure on the lecturers.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so Nina Farhana, don't forget to start finding someone reliable to check. So the last result will be the lecturer, actually. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have a lot of questions actually. You can still entertain the questions, right, Mr. Azmil?
Yes, sure, can.
Okay, the next question is from Izzat Azahri. Izzat Azahri asks, Okay, what is the best format in terms of font and size for resume? This is quite technical, the question.
Okay. I think there are no specific size, but the lowest you can go is 10. Anything lower than that would be a little bit difficult for usually a machine, no problem, but a human eye would be a little bit of a problem of reading it. In terms of font, I would say Verdana, Calibri.
Sans serif, sans serif font?
Yes, sans serif font would be good.
Okay, and the size 10.
Yeah, minimum 10.
I think it depends on the employers. Some of the employers might need magnifying glass if it's too small. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I hope Mr. Azmil had answered your question, Izzat Azari. Okay, the next question is from Nurizah Nazifa. Okay, she is like she's trying to avoid the worst thing, which is okay. What is the worst resume mistake? Instead of asking the best, what is the worst? Maybe she wants to avoid doing that.
Okay.
What is the worst resume mistake?
I think the worst resume mistake would be lying. How do I put this? You know, sometimes when you write a resume, there are certain things that you have written, but on other part of the resume it says otherwise. So macam mana awak cakap, kanta busuk lah.
Alter information, you mean?
How do I put this? Because they are contradicting information in the resume. So when they are contradicting information in your resume, I think automatically your credibility will is lost. You know, it is hard for the recruiter to trust other part of our resume. Even perhaps maybe it is an honest mistake. We didn't notice it, but because of this, you know, tadi dekat bahagian ni cakap A, tapi kat bahagian B ni cakap B.
Contradicting.
So, contradicting. So be careful on that. I think grammar is also it is not big, but it is something. Okay, how do I put this? You have all the time in the world to prepare your resume. You know, so having said that, if you still send a resume with grammar mistakes, it is going to be something that, you know, that is quite unforgivable, because first it is not like you can't refer to anybody, or you can't check with anyone, or you can check with any platform, but you still make those mistakes. So I think that is something that quite frowned upon. If me.
Okay, so Nurizah Nazifa, don't forget to check your language structure, okay, before submitting your resume, and put how to say don't lie. Don't lie. Okay. All right. The next question. Okay, this is pertaining to the format, or template. Okay, the question is from Fatin Nurina. She asks, okay, can we use other template, okay, such as Canva instead of Microsoft Word? Okay.
I don't. How do I put this? I don't really encourage usage of Canva to create resume. for reasons similar to earlier, which is ATS tracking. That I am worried that those resume created by Canva won't be able to pass through ATS, and ATS won't be able to detect them. However, if you or should you want to create your resume using Canva, I advise to go over to Job Scanner, upload your resume there, and see if the platform or the Job Scanner can detect all the informations that you have written in that resume.
Okay, Fatin Nurina, I hope you are clear with the feedback given by Mr. Azmil. Okay, the next question. Okay, this is very interesting because it relates to social media from Ahmad Adli. Okay, he asked, can social media affect our job application?
Yes, definitely. I mean, nowadays, our virtual life and our real life. I mean, our self as a person is pretty much tied together. Unlike last time, a few years back, you can still say, macam, oh, when I am in virtual life, I am a different person, as opposed to when I am in real life. So nowadays, there hardly any separation or any distinct entity between who we are online and who we are in real life. So there are factors that might affect. These are factors that might affect our job application journey lah. So I advise if you are on social media and if you're worried that it might hurt your job application, put it on private. Am I alone? Okay, let me try to ada kat question. Dan follow kerja je. Thank you, Roshaidi Afif. One door closes, another door opens. All right. That's the way, that's the spirit. Is it advisable to include part-time job experience that is related to the job apply? Lee Seng Ai, yes, definitely. One piece of paper or should be two pieces of paper? That can be on one page of paper, front and back. No need to print it into papers. Go green. How can I explain my internship scope of tasks in resume if most of the tasks I did was actually quite confidential? Can I just briefly explain the scope only based on what I did? Okay. You can explain. Can you at least explain the activity, Haja? You don't have to maybe quantify it or maybe explain the outcome. But perhaps what you can do is, explain the activity, and you don't have to disclose information that is private and confidential. All right, Fatin, Lakia, thank you for the follow, Ahmad Amirul. All right, so I cleared all questions. Just waiting for doctor to come in. Can it be stated in the resume, even if the work experience has nothing to do with the position we want to apply for, like dropship or part-time? Especially if you are a part-time, if you are a fresh graduate, any work experience can be stated. Another thing that we have to understand is that, maybe on our side, we don't see how does it relate to the target job or the job that we are applying. But from the recruiter side or from the hiring manager side, maybe he or she can find some linkage from your experience that can be transferable or applicable to the job that you applied for. Amalia. Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. It has been fun, guys. Thank you so much. I didn't expect for 800 people to be here. I think this is probably my largest talk ever. And yeah, thank you so much. I want to ask, what do you think about a PhD student that requested to work as an engineer? Does it consider as overqualified? About PhD student that requested to work as an engineer, does it consider as overqualified? Okay, anything, how do I put this? Usually, when we talk about postgraduate certification or postgraduate qualification, how do I put this? Okay, bayangkan the threshold is degree. So anything that you have, whether masters or PhD, it won't be as much considered as overqualified because what okay, the aim is, okay, bila kita bahagikan job grade, if you're talking about job grade per se, we're talking about kumpulan pelaksana dan juga kumpulan pengurusan dan profesional. Okay, kumpulan pelaksana ni is bawah degree, can be diploma, can be STPM, SPM, matrikulasi, and degree dan ke atas is what we usually call professional and pengurusan dan profesional lah. So when we talk about the the threshold being degree, and if you have a PhD or if you have a master's, in a sense, that wouldn't be considered as overqualified. All right, thank you, Anis. Thank you, Iza. Joey, thank you so much. Wan Damia. Ain Awatif, decide on the most, to me, go by this order lah. The longest, and then the most beneficial that you think. So go by this order. Maybe if you have a lot of part-time job, right? So just maybe pick 2 or 3. The rest you can omit. Your talk is packed with super useful. Thank you, Nina, for the feedback. Thank you so much. Oh, it was actually more than 1K. All right. Cool. Can I know what actually employee observe from our social media platform? I think it can be a little of everything. Our posts, our interaction with others, the way we, our demeanor. So I think it can be a little bit of everything. And I wouldn't say that there are certain areas that we or employers that are really looking to, but it is a little bit of everything. So when I look up people on LinkedIn, I I usually read their posts, I usually read their interactions, I usually read if they posted any articles. Yeah, because that way we'll be able to understand the candidate better lah. What if the job more to online or no payslip? How to load it in resume? It is okay if you I hope that it is your salary is being transferred online, so at least you have some kind of bank statement, Adila. So that can be proof of work experience. And part-time jobs, the due diligence ataupun the background check, I think it wouldn't be that detailed. Thank you, Hanisa. Thank you, Ku. Thank you, guys. If hopefully we can, I can see you guys in TikTok. Thank you so much. Mel, how do I follow up with a company for a job that I applied through the company website, or I can only wait for the reply? You don't have to wait for the reply. Usually the rule of thumb is about 5 to 8 days. So after 5 days, 5 working days, you can definitely follow up with them. Azlina, I would say if you're talking about blue collar, like white collar jobs, a lot of them on LinkedIn and JobStreet and Hiredly. Other than that, I would say maybe you can try Indeed as well. But other than that, like Mudah or Mau Kerja, a lot of them are blue collar job lah. The expected salary of a degree holder is between 1949 to 28. How can we tell employer politely that the offer salary is not worth it? The offered salary is not worth it. Okay, let me understand, Kamaro. The salary offer is below than 1949 ke, or is it between 1949 to 2836? Rafika, yes, very important nowadays. Not just for applying job, but also for for learning from others and also networking. All right, thank you, Nur Shafika. Thank you, BB Jane. All right, Anis, Nasuha, Kaiwen, Shafika, Akil, go. Anissa. How long should we wait in order to know we got I think it doesn't end until the fat lady sings lah. As the proverb say. I think I mean it's not over until it's over. Until we have clear closure ataupun clear reply indicating that we unsuccessful, then there are still glimmer of hopes lah. But give it about 3 months. My longest waiting time was 3 months. I did not wait lah, I moved on dah pun. But after 3 months, I only gotten my my offer letter from a company. So you see how long? August. All right, these nuts. Are you a gamer? All right, Siraj. All the best in your job search. Azlina, Amir, Kamarul. All right, Santi, Ashraf. Okay, I have another session. I need to go to. I'm going to leave this Google because I have another session with the language center faculty. So anyway, guys, thank you and keep in touch.
Encik Azmil, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, Encik Azmil, first of all, I would like to applaud you because you took over the session quite well. We are here, global UTHM crew, rectifying the issue, but from afar, I can see that you handle the situation in a very highly professional manner. Very good. It seems that we have to invite you again for another session. Encik Azmil, and I would like to also thank you for answering the questions from the students, especially from the comment section. So for this session, I believe that we have now come to the end of this webinar series. Okay, and Mr. Azmil, do you have like word of encouragement to UTHM students who look up to you? Especially after following you at TikTok.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. I think as a parting gift, or I wouldn't say that this is a word of wisdom, but I think remember that our journey can be different. Just take solace in the fact that although our journey is different, we are heading somewhere. So do not give up on your pursuit of happiness. Do not give up on your pursuit of your career aspiration, because I think perseverance and grit, I think it will go a long way. So just I think if just remember that whatever happened, good or bad, it happened for a reason, and it is there to teach us something.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Azmil, for that lovely word. Okay, and with that, I would like to thank you for coming to the session, as well as the students who are like viewing the session from 2 p.m. until now, 4:15. Okay, I wish all of you the best. Don't forget to fill in the attendance list, my dear students. Okay, thank you very much. See you in our next session. Bye-bye.